women and men are trying to separate themselves from each other.
Yeah.
Like they're like in the bad way. They talk about equality, but then all the way they talk about each other is very separating. She talks about like whatever's on your paper, meaning whatever you can control. And that's what a lot of psychology is about, right? Like, especially in a marriage, like there should not be this like huge need to control.
You shouldn't be trying to control. Control is not the answer. If you're in authority, if you're in a position of leadership, you say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. But trying to make sure that people do it, that's where you start to get into the line of control. Yeah. What helps me too is just, I always think now is that she makes mistakes, but her heart is good. You know what I mean? I make mistakes too. So that helps because I think if you have your focus on that, then you're less likely to respond defensively.
Right.
Because even if you're feeling like you're being accused or attacked or whatever it is, you're like, okay, well, the person who I'm in a relationship with has a good heart. So they could be making a mistake right now. Maybe I'm the one who's making a mistake, but then it's, when you have that insight into it, then you have more empathy in that case. So, but yeah. Okay. Well, you got to have one now. I said defensiveness.
Well, that was like, I piggybacked off of that, but let me think of another. Why?
What did you learn?
I really, again, going back, like there are a lot of good things about the Empowered Wife book. Some of the things still are a little, gray area-ish, questionable sort of things, but a majority of it and the concepts, like the true concepts, are really good. And I think that women should read it. And even if you don't agree with everything that she says, it does help create a better balance in your relationship. And it allows the man in the relationship to feel better about himself, and it allows you to feel better about yourself, like as a woman. And it honors those distinctions in a way that I don't feel like is separating. Like today, I feel like women and men are trying to separate themselves from each other.
Yeah.
Like they're like in the bad way. They talk about equality, but then all the way they talk about each other is very separating. And like in her book, it's a lot of like what we've talked about, where it's like men's role is typically this and women's role is typically this. And when those two things come together, it creates this one better thing rather than like two people trying to do the same things. And again, kind of like competing with each other. And they're not really making like one greater entity. They're making just like two people doing the same things.
Yeah.
And I think honoring that instead of like trying to put each other in boxes that they don't belong in, like trying to make women more masculine and men more feminine, like that I feel like is actually hurting us rather than honoring each other for our strengths and weaknesses. And when we come together, those things balance out to like a very harmonious one.
Yeah.
That might have been a lot of like fluff, but the book just does a really good job at like telling women like this is what you should be doing.
Right.
That will also help your man be the man that you want and need him to be, and also he'll be happier because he's getting to fulfill that role as a man.
Yeah.
So it just does a really good, even though it's written for women and it's called The Empowered Wife, I think it does a good job of highlighting the differences that we have and why when they come together that it's better that way.
Yeah.
So
I would sum that up as don't be controlling. But no, I get what you're saying.
Well, I mean, all you can control is yourself again.
Right, yeah.
And that's what she says too. It's like, she talks about like whatever's on your paper, meaning whatever you can control. And that's what a lot of psychology is about, right? Like, especially in a marriage, like there should not be this like huge need to control. Cause I'm sure even as the man who is the leader, it's like if you try to hyper control things or control everything to a T, then that's also exhausting.
Right.
And so it's like, the things that when you're a leader, you do have more control over the things, but people really should focus on what they can control about themselves,
Right.
because it'll have an overall beneficial effect to everything in their life and their overall happiness.
Right. Yeah. And even as a man, you shouldn't be trying to control. Control is not the answer. If you're an authority, if you're in a position of leadership, you say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. But trying to make sure that people do it, that's where you start to get into the line of control. Because, hey, you respect me. I'm saying this is what we're going to do. I'm saying this is what I'm going to do. It's going to happen whether you are agreeing with it or not, in the sense that, like, I don't need to control you and make sure to micromanage that that's going to happen, right? So that's how you lead, is you say, okay, well, this is it. And you start going that direction.
Well, and you
don't
build
just
the
try
trust so that, you know, like, it's easy to just follow your lead. Like you said, it's not a control thing. It's not like telling somebody what to do. It's that, like, that you can bring things up that is maybe more technically telling somebody what to do, but it won't feel that way because they have this trust in you where they want to follow your lead. You're not convincing them of anything. So.
It's the same thing, even just, you can see it in parenting as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you tell your daughter, hey, get your room cleaned up, she doesn't do it, there's a consequence. If you say, hey, get your room cleaned up, she doesn't do it, and you're like, I thought I told you to clean your room. Are you going to clean your room? Hey, you need to clean your room. Now you're controlling. And there's and you're losing your power, you know, and you're losing your mind too at the same time. You just have to say it once and then have a consequence for the thing, and that's what, you know, that's what you should be doing. But yeah.
So that was my
perfect. We stand.